Joshua grew up in a deeply religious missionary family that traveled often. Like any child, he was curious about the world around him, but his questions sometimes caused concern. After years of wearing a mask and living a life that didn't reflect who he truly was, Joshua made a life-changing decision to be authentic. More than anything, he wanted his children to learn a powerful lesson. Always be true to who you are. Our title tonight, Be True to You, told by Joshua Kennedy. Okay, well, hello, Josh. How you doing today?
Wonderful. How are you?
Simply fantastic, and thank you for asking. I do appreciate you answering the call, and you're coming here to tell us a little bit about, I don't know how to frame it, the alphabets.
LGBTQ plus.
Okay, so as we get started, can you start first for my benefit? Explain to me what the L's and the P's and the plus mean. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we start with the L. The L is for lesbian, and that is for those who identify as women being attracted either sexually or romantically to other women. Then we go to the G. G stands for gay. That's kind of an umbrella term that was used in the past. Now it is usually used for those who are identify as men who are sexually or romantically attracted to other men. Then we go to the B, which is for bisexual, and those are people who identify as men or women who are sexually and romantically attracted to both of those binary genders. So we have LGB, then we go to T, which is for transgender. And the T for transgender can stand for either an umbrella term for transgender and gender diverse, or transgender for our transgender masculine, transgender feminine, and those who are on a gender path. This is where I kind of fall into as someone who identifies as non-binary. And then I'll tell you the Q stands for queer. That's our big umbrella term that's been used a lot. It used to be a more negative term. The community has taken it back in the past 10 years. And it's more a term that's used for queer or questioning, someone who might be new in their identity, but then also queer for those who are just really celebrating their identity. And then the plus is because our community being able to identify more in our authentic selves and really being able to express who we are now versus in the past, not really having a space to express our identities. Now that we are, people are really sharing how they identify. And so as we've talked about before, our LGBTQ alphabet has expanded. So we have the plus to really make space for other identities.
The queer part sounds, it sounds like those are people that are just coming out, or I didn't quite get the difference between the queer part and the plus part.
Yeah, so the plus are other identities that we have. So sometimes you'll see the wording will say LGBTQIA. You'll see.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't.
It does, because it can either expand to some more identities already there, or you'll see the plus sign at the end. Because we have other identities like two-spirit, there's intersex, there's asexual. There are many identities that are still out there within our own community. But then there are identities that don't have a name, that some people feel that that's where their authenticity lies. And so one of the biggest things that we talk about within the community is really just making sure there's space for everyone and their identity. And so we put that plus sign at the end because we know that we are not trying to limit someone to one specific identity. And I think that's where a lot of the discussion comes from, is really making sure that we're speaking out about how it's not binary, it's not male and female, and that's it. There are more identities within that space, and especially in our community, that's what we try to help educate on, is that there are other identities, there are other outside of the binary.
In a lot of ways, in my way of thinking, if you do those things with, or the same sex, I guess, that you're gay, queer, lesbian, or whatever, and in my world, or yeah, me personally, it falls under like one umbrella. You know, it's like if that's what you do, that's what you do. And when I talk to you, it sounds like even if someone came up with an identity or something that was different, that's what it sounds like the plus is, to try to incorporate whatever else may fall.
Yeah, it's just making sure there's a space for everyone. And, really it's about understanding everyone's individual identity. And I tell people, even if you identify as a male or a female, when you look at a spectrum for your identity versus a box, checking a box, like if you're going through your doctor's visit and you're checking your boxes for like just your demographics, and you see male, female, other, and then you're putting what you're attracted to, whether it's male, female, other. For most people, if you were to look at if they separated it out to romantically, sexually, or emotionally, and you start going through boxes, for most people, you might have to expand some of how you feel. Even if on a binary scale, you would check male or female. So someone who is cisgender or straight, you might say, I'm male and I'm attracted to females. But you might say, emotionally, you might have a good male friend that emotionally you connect with a lot. So you might have some emotional connections with men. You might have that. You're not sexually attracted to them. You're sexually attracted to females. But emotionally, you have these bonds with men that would put you on that spectrum, not romantically, not sexually, but it's not a binary space. You
Okay.
have this emotional connection.
Okay, just real briefly, because what is binary?
Binary
What
is
does that
two,
mean?
just two. It's saying that you either fit into one box or the other. So male or female. So for myself, that's where my identity comes in as non-binary or gender diverse. So I do not identify as fitting within one or the other box. So when a checkbox is given to me and they say male or female, I say I am not in those boxes. I don't identify in those boxes. I identify outside of those boxes. So that's where we have like the spectrum of I have identities of myself where I present more of feminine, of center, and in a non binary state. So you might see me in things that you would consider to be more feminine clothing, but then the next day you might see me in something that you would consider to be more masculine clothing. You'll see me in makeup, but then you might see me with some of my beard. I might have one of those like 5 o'clock shadows one day, but it's different because I don't fit in that binary gender space. So you won't see male or female. It'll always be a little bit of both, a little blurring for me.
But the nails go with you whichever way you go. I mean,
Every way.
because
Yep.
the nails is slamming, okay?
They'll always be there.
And I'm glad you brought something else up, because you brought up about you. And that's where we kind of want to get to you,
Yeah.
and a little bit about like when you came out and how it was growing up, and when you first started to notice and things of that nature. Could you explain a little bit on that pertaining to you?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very religious household. My family was evangelical Christian, so we grew up in like a non-denomination church, and we were missionaries when I was a kid. So we lived in Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia for a while, And we came back to the States about fourth grade. And then in middle school, I started like just looking at magazines, and my parents were concerned.
You came back, started looking at magazines. That's not what turned you out, though, right? I mean,
No.
not
Oh
looking
God,
at.
no.
So when you say looking at magazines, comic books, GQ, like what kind of magazines were
Just
you
like
looking at that your parents became concerned?
just like fashion magazines.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Like a GQ. Nothing.
okay.
Yeah, we didn't have anything. I lived in the inner city in Columbus, so we didn't have anything that's anything more than like a GQ, maybe a Cosmopolitan if it was available.
Okay.
'Cause it was a low income area, so there was not a lot of options. And usually they were like a year old, so it was nothing that was current or anything, but it was something that was sitting around maybe a doctor's office. And so I was looking at it and liked it, but it was a concern for my parents. And so they went to my pastor, and both the pastor and my parents found that it was a concern enough for them that they wanted to put me in conversion therapy. So that's what they did.
And what is conversion therapy?
So the goal of conversion therapy is to convert you back to a state where they believe would rid you of whatever disease, illness, or sin that might be in your body. So in this case, conversion therapy was used to rid me of my homosexuality. So this was a goal to remove this sickness that was inside my body.
Did you go to like outside help at this point?
No, everything, because it's not legal for a therapist, like a true therapist or clinical psychologist, to do conversion therapy. So it's always done by a pseudo therapist, which is like a pastor's assistant type of thing, or the pastor. It's always done internally through the church, or they send you to a camp that's led by the church.
So they just gonna pray this out of you, huh?
Yes.
We're
Yeah,
gonna pray the gay out of you.
exactly. That's a theme that's always said, is pray the gay away.
Pray the gay away. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you're going through school. How did you get along with your school people, your teachers, and your
Yeah.
parents? Seem like they really were concerned.
I went through it and I continued to push through because that's how I was raised. And so when you have your pastor and your parents telling you that you have this sin inside you, and if the sin is still inside you and you die, you're not going to go to heaven. So you're working at making sure that somehow this gets out of you. I had never done anything with anyone or felt like I had tried to or anything like that. So I'm like, well, whatever I need to do, I need to get this out of me if my parents and the pastor are concerned.
So you started to even think that something was wrong with you. Is that fair
Oh
to
yeah.
say?
Yeah, if I have my pastor and my parents telling me something's wrong, then I need to fix it.
How old were you about that time?
This was sixth grade. So yeah, all the way through high school. And then I was only allowed to look at three universities, and all three of them were private Christian universities that would continue the conversion therapy.
The illegal
Yeah.
conversion therapy.
Well, at those three schools, it was still,
This is how we do it.
yeah, it's a tricky situation because it's not legal, but they have no legislation in those states that specifically state it's illegal.
Okay.
So they can do it, as long as it's just kind of done under the radar, because they don't have legislation that says that it's illegal to do it.
You went through school and now I guess you're going into college
Yeah, that's
and you went into conversion college.
yeah, and that's where the electric shock therapy started.
We done jumped over schools from sixth grade all through. You kind of made it. You're even thinking something's wrong with you. You're going straight to hell
Oh
because you
yeah.
have this sin. God don't love you.
Yeah.
And everybody else's sin, that's kind of okay. We
I
can live
know,
with
right?
that.
Yeah, everyone else is.
But your sin, we're gonna have to
Uh-huh.
magnify this. We're gonna have to just
Right.
pray this out of you because God
Uh-huh.
does not forgive you.
Yeah. Somehow this one is very specific. I can't find where in the Bible this one has like a little asterisk that somewhere in the back says this one particular one can't be forgiven. The rest can, but this one cannot. But somehow.
Somehow. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're in college and you're gonna you get into college and then electric shock?
Yeah. So my pastor, when I was leaving high school, said, we need to continue conversion therapy into college because we're concerned that, going into college, you could be hit with all sorts of things, having people around you and your family's not there and your pastor's not there. So we want you to continue conversion therapy. And so that's when they picked the three universities that they picked for me to choose from. And so when I got there, I had no idea that they were going to be doing that. And so then I started conversion therapy at the college, and that's when they introduced the electric shock therapy. And I'm like, okay, well, this seems a lot more intense. So maybe this will work. Maybe this is going to be better.
Wait,
Uh,
wait,
yeah.
wait, wait. Electric shock.
Mhm.
And after all of this, and I'm being serious about this now, I don't understand your world outside of I have family members, friends, and things like that, but we don't never get into it like this.
Yeah.
They give you electric shocks, but the thing that gets me is you're saying that you thought that this might work. I mean, you've really carried this like something is wrong with me.
Because they tell you, they convince you that God doesn't love you, that you're not going to get into heaven, that your family can't stand beside you, that the church doesn't support you. And this whole time, you still haven't even done anything. And everyone that's beside me going through the same thing that I am is dealing with the same thing. Their family isn't supporting them. Their pastor is not supporting them. They're being told God doesn't love them. And we are all struggling through the same thing together, just wondering what it is that we did wrong because we still haven't done anything. None of us have done anything inappropriate. None of us have done anything lewd. We were never caught doing anything that put us in that situation. It was just our family and the pastor saying that this needs to change. And we're like, well, what is it that we've done that God hates us so much? What have we done? Why are we such a terrible person?
When you say I haven't done anything, in my mind, when you say that, that means you haven't explored your.
Yeah,
That's
nothing.
what you mean. In other words, you're still like virgin or something like that.
Christian culture is very strict about, waiting until you're married. And so, we are all very devout Christians, and most of us grew up in that missions lifestyle that are part of the conversion therapy and part of the friend group that I had going through this. And it's very confusing because we're just trying to grow up. We're just kids trying to grow up as kids. And so it's hard to understand why we're being treated as such terrible human beings. And we are growing up as missionaries, teaching everyone that God loves everyone. Yeah.
God loves everyone except you.
Uh-huh. It's a
You,
it's a hard thing to understand.
yeah. Well, yeah, church folks can be a little difficult sometimes.
Oh,
So you're
yeah.
going through your electric shock, you're in college, and does this escalate?
Oh, yeah. After 4 years of going through that, I have an arranged marriage at the end of college.
Wait a minute. Okay, you got to explain the arrange. That sounds like something out of the barbaric days or something.
So there's a plan that gets put into place for everyone. And during those 4 years, I lost several friends to suicide, not being able to go through
Mm, mm, mm.
conversion therapy because Electric shock therapy is very intense. It's very difficult. They're showing you images and then shocking you to make you automatically assume that what is on the screen is negative. So they show you images and shock you, and they do that constantly, and they're doing that on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And so it's a lot to take. And when you don't have a support system, you feel like, how long can you take it? How much more can you take before enough is enough? And so it's hard to watch people just go out of your life because they can't go through. And then you're thinking for yourself, you're like, well, how did I get through that? And then, I mean, you go through all that. And then after 4 years of college, then your counselor or therapist says, okay, well, to check off your last couple boxes to being a fully fledged heterosexual human being, you are now going to be paired with a woman, and then you need to have kids, and then you'll be good to go.
So they find you a woman,
Uh-huh.
put you together.
Yep.
You're supposed to have kids. And,
Yep.
and and right before that, you were saying how you go through these 4 years. You've had friends that I guess started looking at themselves so negative. They felt like, why should I even live? There must be something so wrong with me. Or did this program, this conversion, just flip them out?
I mean, I I am not surprised because from that electric shock therapy, I ended up with a seizure disorder. And
Mm.
I spent 3 years not being able to walk very well, couldn't drive, I couldn't work.
Whoa.
I was on 4 different anti-seizure medications. It was terrible. And it took a long time to bounce back from that. And this is all because of what happened during that time. And I can't imagine if someone was in a place of not having any support around them, how they would understand how to move forward.
That's why I'm really glad you're taking the time. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people moving forward are people that are probably caught in that plus space or binary
Yep.
space or something. But at the same time, Joshua, I'm kind of caught too because I'm being like overwhelmed. This is like,
It's a
I
lot.
mean, the church, the
Yeah.
church. Okay, so these church folks, Christian church folks, are you talking about King James Version church
Yep.
folks?
Yep.
Okay. So now they turn around, they're pairing you with the woman. They literally, do you know the woman or they just say, this is your wife, you get
Yep.
married and go through this? So obviously, I guess for you to get out the program, you have children.
Yep. We had 2 kids. Yeah.
I'm baffled. So you have 2 kids,
Yeah.
you're sitting there, and I guess the treatment is over. You're in your home. Everybody's thinking that you're okay now. What was your home life like in that home with your paired wife?
It was like having just a friend. I would sleep on a cot on the side, and then if the kids came in, jump up in the bed to make it look like we slept together all the time, like a regular family. Outside of the house, people thought it was just a regular family with, the whole white picket fence, regular house. We went to church like everyone else and played games and had people over for like Sunday brunch kind of thing. We did all the regular things everyone else did.
In the home, did you wear your nails and makeup and things during that time? No. Okay,
No.
no.
So I was a very quiet person. My clothes were, oh, I don't even like looking at pictures from back then. But I would look in like a JCPenney catalog and look at like the men's section, and that's how I would pick my clothes. Was trying to look like that, because I was like, okay, well, I have to look like a dad. Like whatever this picture looks like, the dad in that picture, that's what I have to look like. So
Wow.
I'd pick clothes like that. And then we went on a family vacation, and my son had a lot of tendencies like I did, when I was his age, and it scared me. And I thought, if there's any chance that my son is gay or non-binary, or any other identity outside of the binary identity of being male, he would be put through the same stuff because my ex-wife and her whole family, they are still a part of the same church cycle. And so the same recommendation would still happen. And there is no way that I could sit here and pretend to be something that I'm not and allow him to go through that same stuff that I went through.
Was your wife in a pray you out situation, or was she straight? Or
She's straight. And
oh,
and most of the women going to that university were there for what we called the MRS degree. They were just looking for a husband. So they just needed someone who was going to be financially sound. So for her, it was okay. She was sent there to find a husband. They were like, well, here's someone who's graduating with a degree. So he needs a wife. So we can pair you. She's okay.
and you had two children.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now can we get into your son, and then how you and your family, I guess at that time, how you all came to grips with this isn't you?
Yeah, I mean, we went on that vacation, and when we came back, I sat down with my wife at the time and said, "Look, I need to be my authentic self for the kids. I can't continue to pretend to be someone else." I said, I really feel like Joshua is the same as I was as a kid, and I need to make sure that he has the support and he can see what love looks like in all forms. And I can't, I could never ask him to go through what I went through. If there's any chance that he is gay, I can't ask him to do that. And if we stay the way that we are right now, he would be asked to do that by the pastor of the church that they go to. So I said, I need to be able to show him that.
So you don't go to that church anymore?
No,
Oh, no,
no.
not that one. So
Mm-mm.
you and your wife, you all go your separate
Yeah.
ways, and you didn't explode or disappear
No.
instantly or anything like that. How do you feel seriously, religiously, and about God and your walk with the Lord? And are you still rooted with the Lord? Has this
Yeah.
discouraged you from the Lord?
No, I would be very specific in saying that the things that have happened by people, not by the Lord. And I emphasize that I still have Romans 8:38 on my arm, and that's there very specifically because it says that nothing will separate us from the love of Christ. And it goes in detail with so many things that cannot separate us from the love of Christ. And I get that question all the time. Why do you still have that? And I said, because it's literally like an anthem. It clearly states that no matter how many people want to come up and say that who I am or how I identify is not within the eyes of the Lord, I have it on my arm that I will never be separated from the love of Christ. And the people who are coming up and telling me something different are people. They're not God. They don't have the power to tell me anything different than what God is telling me. I don't have to have someone validate who I am or someone come up and say that I'm okay in God's eyes. And I spent too much of my life allowing people to tell me that and me trying to live up to that instead of when I finally did come out and I finally started living my authentic life, I felt this massive weight lift off my shoulders and finally felt more peace. And it was frustrating because I was like, I spent all this time trying to appease people. And I didn't realize that all of this hate and all of the words that were coming from people about how God didn't love me was not God. This was all people and how they felt and what they interpreted. It had nothing to do with God. And so
Yeah.
all the hate, all that torture, all the pain came from people. It was not God.
And I like what you said. A lot of pain and things do come from people.
Yes.
And a lot of people are misunderstood. Me as one. I misunderstood a lot of things. Got away from the marriage, and you and your wife separate. You have the children. and everything. Um, how did you go on with your life? What was in store for you after that?
Oh, I found a wonderful man that I've been with now for 5 years, and he is so awesome and supportive. And now, for the organization I work with Kaiser, I serve as the enterprise chair for our LGBTQ plus community. And
Amen.
I now get to lead an entire team that works with Trevor Project, which helps for anyone that is concerned or seeking support 24/7. And it's awesome to put this group of volunteers together that just answer phones and check chat messages and text messages that come in there for people who might be struggling or might be considering suicide or might be in an unsafe place and need a safe place to go. And it's so wonderful because it's hard when you've lost so many people, and now being able to help others so that they have that space when we didn't have resources like that we knew of when we were young, and now being able to provide that for others is so important. So I'm super happy.
Before we wrap you up here, just questioning, what do you consider yourself?
Oh, non-binary.
Non-binary.
Yeah.
So that means when you say non-binary, that means you don't you don't claim one or the other.
Nope.
You're just
in
you're
just
yeah.
in the middle.
But what I also heard is that you found a man.
Uh-huh.
So would that mean you're like gay?
You can say gay, absolutely.
But then gay are men that are attracted to men,
Yes.
and binary or non-binary does that have anything to do with attraction, first of all?
No, it's
Okay,
okay.
okay. Okay, then we can leave it alone because I'll get confused.
It's complicated. I know.
Yeah, it's a lot of letters, and y'all done threw the plus sign in there.
I know. And
You
you're about
know.
to start doing trigonometry if you get
Yes,
into
yes,
that.
yes. Josh, if there's something that you could leave with someone, and like I said, I know a couple of people, and I know some young people that I be around my church that are actually going through identity and things like that. Is there? I heard about the one group you said, Trevor, or
Trevor Project.
that if a person was in your situation, or a young person in your situation, what would be your advice to an individual struggling with identity?
I would say that I know it can be scary to share the struggle that you're going through, but take the time to walk your family through or your support people through it. Even those that you love that do show even the smallest signs of support for you, sit down with them. It might take 6, 7, 8 times for someone to understand what you're going through. But if you have someone's ear and they are loving and a support for you, take that time, help them to understand. It does take a while, especially for people who aren't in that space and don't understand the identity. But it's okay because if the love is there, if the support is there, then they're willing to listen. And I think sometimes we can get a little bit frustrated if it takes a while for someone to understand. But I think just be patient, because if you have someone who is willing to support, that is a gold mine, and we don't get that very often. So it's really valuable.
What advice can you give to a person as of myself that may know these situations, don't quite, I don't know the alphabet. I got a little education today, but how should we as a community, or how should we as so-called, not so-called, but those that call ourselves Christians, how is it that we are to communicate and be with someone that may be struggling this? Do you have any advice for
Yeah,
those kind of people?
just listen, let them speak, and let them just get out everything that they're trying to say before responding, and then research what they are saying. before giving a response so that you know the information that you've been given. Sometimes I think we want to respond so fast to show support, but make sure you're coming with information that you feel comfortable about.
Well, what if we really don't believe in it? What if we, some people say, no, that's not right. Like you went through a situation that was pretty dramatic, but what about like if someone else just looked at, no, that's not right. You're going to hell. The same kind of stuff you went. Can you talk to that kind of spirit coming out to people?
Yeah, I would say just take a minute and step away. Just say that you need a moment. I understand it. It can be really hard. And this happened like with my grandma. She was in that same space and it was hard. But now she's one of the only people in my family who communicates with me. But we've always had a really, really long relationship and a very close one. So it was hard in the beginning for her, but then she was able to come back and we sat down and talked. And now our relationship has been the same that it was before. But it took a minute. She had to step away to realize I'm still the same person. Nothing has changed about me. I'm still who I am. It's just she had to learn a little bit more about who I identify as, and that this person is still the same one that I was my entire life. It's just parts of me were told that I couldn't be that person. So I had to hide those parts for a very long time. And so she had to kind of see, oh, wait, those are parts that you had when you were younger. Those are still personalities you had when you were a little kid. It's just when you got a little bit older, your parents in the church said those are parts that God doesn't love. Those are parts that have to go away. And now those parts are just coming back out because now I'm being again the person I was when I was a child.
Well, Joshua Kennedy, I sure do appreciate and thank you for taking this time. I thank you for answering the call. When I addressed a binary or someone that may be on the side, like many times I caught myself wanting to say, hey man, or hey dude, or hey bruh, like that. Is that offensive?
It depends on the person. So like for me, it's not, because I use any pronouns. So you can use any terms.
Oh, okay.
And it's okay because I use any of them. So it depends on the person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time, my brother. And you and you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I do truly thank you.
Of course.
Well, another episode of Where Were You? And we would like to thank our guests for this evening. Also want to thank New Me. New Me helps sponsor Where Were You? So go on and check it out. New Me /Arkway. Also, go on and hit that like. Go on and hit subscribe. Go on and hit that share. Go on and leave a comment. And if you find anyone that has a story, let me know. And hey, you bless someone today.